Hello friends. So in this video I'm going to talk about archetypes. Now it's going to be about idealism. It's going to be about Bernardo Kastrup and some of the things that he speculates about. It's not really trying to convince you about idealism. This video is really kind of, if you already like the idea and you just want to look at some, speculate about some things, okay? So maybe don't expect too much. There we go. Everyone has turned off now. Okay, so this is about archetypes. Now, Bernardo Kastrup is a big fan of Carl Jung, okay? So, and Carl Jung had this idea of the collective unconscious, where all these archetypes are stored. And because Bernardo Kastrup has got this idea of the universal mind, there's things that he likes to draw from Jung. Now, so we'll begin just with an idea of what an archetype is. The archetype is where there is where a thought has been repeated, and it's either conditioned. This form of thought has been conditioned in the mind. So when the thought enters, begins this set little route, it follows that route. So Jung gave the example of a riverbed. So a riverbed is cut into the ground by water flowing through it. So it gets deeper and deeper. And even when the riverbed is dried up, if water or if thought flows through it again, it goes along that path. So these things that we think a lot become easier. Our minds flow more easily through that structure, and so this could be why we think that things are logical. Our logic is basically how thought flows through these archetypes that are in the universal mind, in Bernardo Kastrup's terminology, or in the collective unconscious, according to Jung. Now, Jung didn't declare he was a idealist, but he's got this idea of this collective unconscious that people share. So, and Bernardo Kastrup thinks he's an idealist from his reading of Jung. Now, if you, I know this isn't trying to convince you of idealism, but just to show that memories, we think memories are stored in the brain, but there's this thing called terminal lucidity, which is where people have dementia, and their brain is completely, eaten away by the disease, and it's like Swiss cheese. It took near the end of their life, they can get total recall, so they remember everything and they interact with their loved ones in a normal way before they die. Now, according to materialism, if the brain holds the memories, then that shouldn't be able to happen. And it's a real thing. Look it up on Wikipedia, terminal lucidity. Now, another thing is the experiments by Michael Levin, where he, over 10 years ago now, he has these planaria worms, which are a type of tapeworm, and he trained them to navigate a maze, and then he cut the head off and the part with the neurons in, and then it regrows the head and the worm can still navigate the maze. Now, his idea is, he hasn't rejected materialism, but he's working with maybe it could be something about energy fields or something like that. Maybe later I'll do more research and make a video about that. But basically, the memory isn't in the brain. The brain regrew a new brain, and it has the access to the memory. So maybe the memory is stored outside the brain. At least Bernardo Kastrup speculated on this because of Michael Levin's research. So the memory is not actually in your little dissociation. It's somewhere out in the universal mind and connected with maybe meaning rather than connection with spatial connection, just some sort of connection with meaning, like a database might have connections because of meaning. So what ties together your memories are basically associations of meaning. Now, so these archetypes are things that have been thought again and again, so they've become solidified, or you could see it as the river analogy, the riverbed. They have been cut into the universal mind, so thought flows most easily through that. Mathematics or logic, it flows easily through that. And the interesting thing is that the universal mind, these archetypes, Jung mentioned all these different archetypes like the hero and the wise old man and the fool and things like this. But also he mentioned about, he believed that during the 20th century when the Nazis tried to take over Europe, this was Woden, this was Wotan. This is the German word for the English god Woden, which is known as Odin in the Norse pantheon. So this god of wisdom but war marched across Europe. This is what he said. It was reawoken. So basically the thought of the German people flowed easily through that archetype, and this was reawoken in them. Now, I don't know whether it actually, the archetype reawoke. I doubt it. I think it's that it reawoke in us, that our mind flows most easily, and this God became reanimated again in the 20th century. So that was his idea. Now, the interesting thing that I think is that if we imagine this, if gods and that we've worshipped in the past are kind of cut into the collective unconscious, or their structures that have been solidified in the universal mind, and then maybe we have the sun god, and then we have savior gods, and we have all these. I'm interested in God, but the ground of being is beyond all of these. The ground of being is what everything is, and these are kind of limitations, restrictions. Maybe they represent something, and maybe they are, who knows, how much power they could have, because these have been thought over generations. The thought has passed through, is cutting it deeper and deeper. So these concepts, universal concepts in primitive religions of, the god of war or god of thunder and things like this. This is, and then they kind of join together. If you look at the development of, the Hindu gods, for example, or the, the Hebrew god, they were storm gods and other types of gods, fertility gods, and they kind of joined with other gods as if this riverbed is being extended and added to. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting, I think I've said this a few times, but I'll say it again. I'm trying to get to something. Now, imagine, so these have been cut into the universal mind. Now, what about other creatures, not humans, animals? So, they have their mind going through certain passages, or even trees. I mean, if we don't know if a tree is conscious, it could be. Bernardo Kastrup thinks that life is what the disassociation looks like. So life itself is on our dashboard, how conscious disassociation is represented. So this feeling that you're separate from the rest of the world, the rest of mind, is because you've got this disassociation. You don't have access to to other people's thoughts and things because each one is disassociated. So he says that life itself is the symbol of a disassociation. So trees would be conscious, even basic life would be conscious to some degree. Now, so it's not just humans who are cutting these patterns into the universal mind. It could be animals, plants, and just imagine all the trees that existed before humans appeared and how they all turned to the sun. And they don't have brains, but they've shown that plants can learn even without brains. Some creatures have got, like octopus, they don't have a brain, but they have neurons spread out through the body. But there are plants that can learn, and there's say slime, it can kind of make decisions and things like this, and clearly it's got no brain. So maybe they were cutting into the universal mind, this idea of the sun, and I'm just imagining what kind of divine creature image that would be for a tree. Anyway, so I think I've just lost everyone else. No, but it gets even worse. It gets even better. What about civilizations on other planets? They would also have had the similar things, the sun and maybe winds, maybe storms, certainly some sort of fertility goddess, some sort of mother goddess. Every single human on earth has a mother. Every single animal has a mother. Maybe this is kind of a real fundamental thing that has been cut into the universal mind long before life on our planet. And as soon as we developed, the thought flows through these again. And so maybe these gods, when we see them with, the Hindu pantheon, for example, not so unusual things. Okay, so it's not just the Hindu pantheon, many arms on, arms are a normal thing. We have angels, things with wings. But when I say we, I'm talking about, Christians. So there could be aspects that would be incomprehensible to us because they were cut. These archetypes were created in other civilizations. Now imagine even more. So the universe appeared, maybe the Big Bang, and maybe there was a universe before that, and there could have been these archetypes in other civilizations, in other creatures, in other ways that the universe has put itself together. We see all this fine tuning in the universe, and we call it there's a word for it. Can't remember now. So we're here. One proof that we're here is because basically the reason that all this fine tuning is here is because this is how because we're conscious of it, so it must be as it is. I can't remember the name. Anyway, so before, maybe in other universes with different laws of physics and who knows, then there could have been other things cutting these archetypes. And maybe the ideas that we have of divine beings come from this. They're ancient, not just ancient as ancient as the Hindu civilization, the Hindu pantheon, but it could be something that would be before time, outside of time, things that we cannot imagine, yet they have this power that our thought can flow through and bring these divine beings to life. So maybe Christ, the Savior, is not something that's just something human. Maybe it's something that spreads before the universe. I mean, Jesus said before Abraham was, I am. But I think that's not really what he's talking about. I'm not saying that he's an archetype that I think he's more just saying that he is existence itself. He is God himself. He's an incarnation of God, the ground of being, incarnated in human form. And then we have all the other gods with form, which are similarly, they could be, divine, but with the limitations for us to be able to picture them and worship them. But certainly these ideas, the 20th century, we became very secular and it all dried up. But the archetypes are still there, just waiting for thought to pass once again through them. So I hope that was fun. Think about it if you want. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.